Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. Yep, we're still going. We got the beginners on lock, and this time, I'm having a woo-woo moment because I have two beginners who actually raced today, June 19th. So technically it's not today because this will air on Wednesday, which is not the 19th, but today is Sunday, and this is when we're recording it. And so I have them live with me, and they just finished their race. They are a part of Capital Y Tri, and as you know, earlier in this season, we got to interview Larry Atkins, who is the head coach for Capital Y Tri. And so we have two beginners from the newbie program. Woo, 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 woo. Okay. And I guess that's two and a doe to Martin because that just came out too. Okay. All right. All this stuff is Juneteenth. I'm representing Juneteenth. One of the ladies I had never met before. So this is how Y Tri is. Y Tri is a rather robust program. And so one I've met before because I'm one of the subs for the cycling program, but the other one I met on June 18th at the Juneteenth Marathon. Shout out to everybody who did that. So I'm just going to bring both of these ladies in. I get to welcome to Try Beginner's Luck, Jessica Long and Elyse Braner. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is so exciting. Today was race day, and I believe you guys did Jamestown Sprint Triathlon. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
I love it. So we're just going to start here. We're going to start with Elyse. Elyse, what brought you to this beautiful sport of triathlon?
I'm an injured runner, and both of my colleagues and friends, Tim Hughes and Steve Lyko from Pacers Running, encouraged me to try the Y Tri program. I was so intimidated from everything from what I thought was a ton of gear you needed, which I was very minimalist in the whole thing, to getting in a pool and swimming. But if I hadn't been injured, I probably wouldn't have done it. And I'm so glad that I have another sport and went through that whole process.
Well, obviously, we're not happy that you were injured because we don't ever want anyone to be injured. And we want you to just want to try because it's kind of cool to try. But we're grateful that you are now a part of our family. So welcome in. And shout out to Tim. We came into the newbie program together in 2014. So shout out to Tim, and just so excited that you decided to come over to us and try something different in a very unique season of life. That's how we'll put it.
Yes.
Okay. Jessica, tell us about you. How did you get to the road to triathlon?
Yeah, so in the past, I had some struggles in the water. I've always loved the water. I grew up on the beach in Massachusetts, and we spent like every summer day there. And when I was like 10 or 12, my grandmother took us and we learned how to swim, but then I really never did anything with it. And then I was in the Dominican Republic, and we had a teaching English, and we took kids out to the beach, and the water came in because the storm came in really quickly, and I had to take all these kids back to the shore, and we like almost drowned. And like after that, I didn't even realize it until like the summer of 2020, when we were like, everybody was going outside. It was the pandemic, like that's the only way you get out. And we went to the Lake Michigan, and I was like freaking out. And my friend was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Oh, I almost drowned. Like this is my first time being in like wavy water." And so I came to now, and I was like, I need to get my swimming together. And so I started like researching like master's classes, and it wasn't the right fit. And then somebody was like, "You know what? There's this like triathlon team at the YMCA in DC, and they're like, you should get in touch with them." And I got in touch with them, and they're like, "Yep, we help not the best swimmers become the best swimmers." And I started working with Larry Atkins. You already mentioned him. And like my swimming has, improved by leaps and bounds. And then I just always wanted to do a triathlon. I'm a type of person who likes to have a challenge at the end of like life like life experiences. So I wanted to do it at the end of residency, but I couldn't because of the pandemic. So here I am trying it now.
Wow. I had another guest on not too long ago who also, his name is Ronnie Ham. Yep, that's it. He's also a beginner and he too almost drowned. And I think he almost drowned 6 times. And so that is nothing, that's a scary thing to, almost drown because the psychological behind that. And it's an interesting and frightful, scary, traumatic, all those words, experience. And so I'm so grateful that you wanted to challenge yourself and to push past what uh, was maybe hindering you from doing open water swimming. And triathlon is really the perfect sport to kind of break into that. And the sprint is the ideal length of a triathlon to kind of just get your feet wet and just try. So let's get right into it. Today was race day for you guys. Okay, again, it's June 19th, but technically this will air probably on the 22nd or 23rd. I don't have my dates correctly, but Wednesday. So today, what was it like waking up and actually just entering into the space where people are setting up bikes? I want to start from the beginning today. Usually I start at the swim, but what was it like driving to the race this morning? What was your mindset?
So I actually biked about 3.5 miles to the race. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a minimalist with the equipment. Didn't want to mess around with the bike rack. I took the approach to it where my goal was I wanted to finish a triathlon and I wanted to finish saying I had a really good experience. And it kind of reminded me when I first became a runner where I didn't know what a good time was. I was just happy to be there. So I was on the relaxed side about it. I was looking at that choppy water though, and I said, "Oh, that's going to be a challenge." But like I said, I was just so happy to be there.
Okay, I gotta put a pin right there. You biked to the race site this morning?
So like 3.5 miles.
I understand, but I don't know, did the race start at like 7 or 8?
7. So I left at 5:15.
Mhm.
So I
So
wanted
there's
to get there early, to make sure I have room for my bike. And I went down with my boyfriend and another friend, and just want to make sure we had enough time. There'd be no stress.
yeah, I can already tell this is a whole different triathlete, who bikes to the race site because she's a minimalist. Wonderful for you. Kudos to you as I roll my eyes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Jessica, let me talk to you. You're probably on the normal bus. Jessica, tell me
Yeah,
about
I
your
did
morning.
not. I did not bike to the site, but I think it was hard for me because I have done track and field, which is like I feel like part of it, a third of it is like track and field. But really, it reminds me of track and field in that there are different events that you're participating in, and you're transitioning from one event to another. And I was a thrower, and I threw all of the throws, like shot, disc, javelin, weight, hammer. And so I got this. I get the. I understood the aspect of you have to do this one, and then you have to transition to the other event. But I was like, how do I warm up? So like, I had a lot of nervous energy. Again, go back to the fact that I was. I honestly, if I was very honest with myself, I was terrified to swim. And like I had done one open water experience, I had planned another one, and it got rained out, and so I was very worried. And so I just started doing what I usually do. I did my dynamic warm up. I like ran, did my stretches, and then I just like sat on the beach and tried to like meditate and try to like find my center, um, so that I could like find peace and do the things that I have been taught and had been learning the entire time.
Very different approach, but still an athletic approach. She's like, how am I going to warm up? Maybe I'm just that person. I'm like, warm up before a race? What? No, no, you truly need to warm up. But you did your dynamic stretches. But the fact that you sat on the beach to meditate, that's different in of itself. And I'm glad that you guys took two different methods to get to the same race, right? And I think that's the beauty of this sport is that we have an opportunity to get to it the way that's best for us. Elyse rode 3 miles, and she probably worked out her mental and, nervous energy that way. And you did your dynamic stretching, what you pulled on your collegiate experience and did your, dynamic stretching, and then said, no, let me get centered and let me get grounded before I get in this water. All right. So we're at the race. It's time for the swim. What's going through your mind?
Oh my gosh, a lot of things were going through my mind. I think I was like trying to just stay calm. I didn't know where to start. Like I knew I wanted to be towards the back because I was more of a nervous swimmer. I didn't want to be swam over. I knew but I also didn't know if I wanted to swim like with other teammates and like have that aspect. So I was very nervous.
I was a little bit nervous. I knew we had a 1 hour time limit, and I really didn't know what a good time was. And since I'd mostly trained in the pool and only did one open water swim that was in a very calm lake, I really thought, oh, am I going to make the hour time limit? So that was what was on the top of my mind the whole time. But approaching the water and seeing that it was so choppy, I said, okay, if you can't do your freestyle stroke or, the strokes we were to the Y try, all you have to do is just finish and stay calm. But I did. I remember asking a couple people, are we okay on time?
I love that. Time is always of the essence. I promise you. Oh, time, time, time. Y'all know where that was from? Just this different word. Florida Evans, when she said, damn, damn. I was just like, time, time, time. Okay, never mind. I'm lame. Fine. Yeah, that's a real thing. And Jessica, realizing where you want to seat, because it's self-seating. It's like you get to go on your own time. And so you can, try with friends or swim with friends, or you can figure it out. I love how you guys had that juxtaposition of how you attacked how you were going to do the swim. So let's talk about the swim. Both of you have only had one real open water experience. And it sounds, from what I understand, is that the water in the James River was a little choppy today. So tell us about that experience.
Yeah, well, we'll cut to the chase. So I did not complete the swim today, which was more dissatisfying than disappointing because I just knew that I had all the tools to complete the swim. But so I started off, I got in there, I was hearing my coach Sarah in my mind. I was hearing Jim in my mind of like, just, keep swimming, do the strokes. And then there was like a big wave and I took in some water and then I like couldn't feel the bottom anymore. And I sort of panicked. And then this man, I froze. And this man was like, are you okay? And I was like in this state where I was like hearing him, but I was like still processing what was happening to me. And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not okay. And so like I put my hand up and then I started kind of flailing and he's like, stay calm. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay calm. And the kayak person, very nice, came and like kind of got me to shallower water. But I also had a moment where I was like, Jesse, you can do this. But then I also was like, maybe you won't do this today. And that's all right, because you still have 2 other pieces that you can participate in. And you can come back to this and you can keep working on this like mental block of like, it's treacherous and it's scary. And it's really not, because you have the keys to do it. But that's kind of like the experience I had.
Yeah, I am sorry that you had that experience, but your mindset and approach to it is also strong. You're just like, look, I have 2 other things that I can do, and I can come back and tackle it. And I appreciate that, because swimming is one of the, I don't want to say number one barrier to entry, because I don't know the technical, I don't know where it stands, but it's one of the number one reasons. Well, I won't say number one. I keep saying I'm not going to quantify it. It is a top reason why people don't try. And the fact that you got out there and experienced it, and, started to panic, it's not uncommon. And the fact that you didn't give up says a lot about who you are as a person and your character. And so I salute you for wanting and desiring to come back and give it another try. So I'm looking forward to that day. But I know we got some other things to talk about. Elyse, tell me about your swim.
Yeah, so we got in that choppy water. It was a little bit overwhelming at first, and I was closer to the back. So I think I was around other nervous swimmers, and we were all a little bit panicky in the beginning. And those first few minutes, I swallowed more water than I had swallowed all season in that pool, and I drank a lot of the Y pool water this season. But as soon as I got around that first turn, I was like, okay, again, just go steady, go slow. If you need to doggy paddle, that's okay. And I kind of did revert to that doggy paddle, but I was like, slow, steady, and however I'm comfortable doing this. And at Pacers, I lead some of the run groups. And so I'm really used to encouraging other runners. So I started, oh, good job, swimmer, good job. And just trying to use that positive energy that I use with the runners. And I don't know if that's as common in triathlon, because I was doing it as I was passing people on the bike, and I think people were really surprised about it. But that's how I got through.
You sound like me. I'm one of those, you got it, good job. And you know what? That's okay, because we need those people too. You got your serious people who are all about, I gotta get on that podium. And then you got your people that are just like, all right, now you got this. Let's do it. Keep it going. Okay, I love it. And I love the fact that you encouraged yourself. The swim is difficult. And the whole part about drinking the water, as disgusting as it is, we have all been there. As I have a flashback of drinking the Schuylkill River water, I'm like, oh, so disgusting. But we've all done it. And, it's a part of the stories that you get to tell other people and be like, and I drank so much water. You probably drank a gallon of water, and then you found yourself figuring out how to pee it out on the run or the bike. And you're just like, this is the most disgusting thing ever. I'm usually like one of these ladies, and all of a sudden, all of my ladylike behavior goes out of the door when you try. I see you guys shaking your head. Okay, so we're moving on to transition. What was it like to transition in your first transition? And was it anything like what was talked about in the transition session that you guys had at Why Try?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they really prepared us. Yesterday, actually, I asked Elyse, she's one of the swim coaches. I was like, how am I supposed to put my bike up? Like, I was like, I don't really get how it's supposed to. So she showed me a picture, which I think was really helpful. But I think the most challenging piece was having to run the 0.2 miles from the the swim shore to the transition area, and just watching other people transition, like not putting socks on or putting socks on, or just watching other people just gives you more kind of, I think, gives me tools for next time. But I think the biggest thing was the run from the beach and kind of getting up there.
Yeah, for me, by the time I got out of the water, I was closer to the back. So there really weren't any bikes left when I got back in the transition area. So there were no distractions. I wasn't thinking, what am I supposed to be doing? I just put on my shoes and I did it. So yeah, so that was fine. By that point, I was like, all right, I finished this swim. So whatever happens from here, it's going to be better than that swim. But yeah, I think it was actually better for me to get there and not have all, the craziness of everyone rushing out of there and being afraid I was going to hit my bike on someone. So
I love it. I love it. We're on the bike. You made it through your first transition. What was the bike like? I remember I've done Jamestown before, and the bike to me is one of the coolest bikes. So it's just a cool bike, it's along a very scenic road. So tell me about your bike experience there.
I loved it. It was pretty awesome. Just riding with there are people there who are pushing, kids in carriages, and there's people going really fast, and there's people you're riding with, and you're seeing your teammates. Like when Elyse was talking about encouraging herself, we saw each other, I think, on the run at one point, and definitely on the bike. I think she was coming in and I was like running out. And we're like, go each other, like cheering for one another. So that I think and I got into the habit of too, like people were cheering me on. And I'm like also like one of those people who's like a coach, and I like to cheer people on. And so people were doing that. And I really love that about today, especially about the bike. But I was also worried about the deer, because when I was driving to the course, I saw 2 deer and I was like, listen, I'm not going to hit a deer today, but there were no deer and it was great.
Yeah, for me, I think the bike was surprisingly my strongest segment. I got a bike during the summer of 2020 because I don't have a car in DC. I've never owned a car actually. I've always relied on public transportation, and so many metro stops were closed down, and I was having such a hard time getting to work. So I got my best friend Greg actually bought me a hybrid bike. So I started biking then. And so the bike was just for transportation. And it's funny because I actually was joking around, but I think this is true. I did most of my bike training, just bike commuting, and I used the Capital Bike Share. I bike, a couple times a day, sometimes between Arlington and DC, getting to all the Pacer stores. So then when I hopped on my hybrid bike this morning, I'm like, oh, this feels so light compared to the Capital Bike Shares. And I really do think those are so heavy. I probably built up a lot of power in my legs. So definitely went a lot faster than I thought.
Okay, between the deer and your best friend buying you a bike, Greg, listen, you can be my best friend any day. If you would like to buy me a specialized Tarmac SL7, I am here for that. My bike size is a 56. Oh, 54, actually, 54. And if you get a 56, we can figure out those details out. But my goodness, come on, bestie, buying you a bike and Jessica being afraid of the deer and just like, oh, I'm just loving this juxtaposition. And the beauty in your first triathlon and the things that are going through your mind and what you're concerned about. I know those of you who are listening or viewing right now are just like me, like it's bringing back memories. Or for those of you who haven't tried yet, you're like, man, I need some memories too. So this is what this is all about, is to encourage you to try, because you're going to have a different story, even if you're at the same race. And I love that one, I met you, Elyse, just on yesterday for the first time ever, and you agreed to do this. So thank you so much. And Jessica, who I would see her smiling face in classes when I'm teaching. So I am just so grateful that you are both here sharing your stories, because I'm encouraged just by listening to you. All right, we're back in T2. What was it like putting on those shoes for the first time and going out to run?
Yeah, so one of my friends did a triathlon like a couple weeks ago, and she was saying like the one thing I would have done differently is wore a second pair of socks. So I changed my socks because I was like, oh, they are kind of damp. So that was really, I was really grateful for that key piece of advice. But I just like got moving, and it was so nice. Like on the way out, there's so many people just like, you got this, cheering you on. And it was like beautiful weather, and it was very scenic because we're like running along like corn fields, and I think it's corn, it might be soy, but it was just really awesome.
Yeah, so for me, I didn't even have to change my shoes because I don't have clips or anything on my bike. So I just biked in my running shoes. So I got to that transition really quickly. And I saw my friend and my boyfriend, and they had the medals. And I was like, you guys already finished? I haven't started my run yet. They're like, yeah, just go. I really going into this did not have a perspective on time or how long any of this took. And I've only been running a couple miles once a week because of my injuries. But I did find it hurt. It really does hurt getting off the bike and starting to run. I didn't always do those bricks in practice just because of my injury. So, but yeah, it was fine. The turnarounds came a lot quicker than I thought. And there was, for me, I related most to the run because there was a lot of camaraderie out there, kind of with that back of the pack. So I really enjoyed it.
Come on, back of the pack and the camaraderie, because honestly, the track community from a runner, Elyse, you probably know that there's something extremely special about the tri community. And not that the run community is a lesser, it's just very different. And those cornfields, Jessica, they are, it's something very calming about them. And, it's just tranquil. And I mean, it's corn or soy, but it's just like looking at nature and what can grow. And as you're just running and the weather was just absolutely beautiful this weekend in general. And so to experience that again, I just really am just in awe of the experience because Jessica, you come from more of a track background and you have done more of the bricks, whereas Elyse hasn't been able to do more of the bricks. And so you guys, again, have two very different experiences. And I want to ask you, Elyse, did you have any troubles when you were running today? Did any of your injuries like flare up or anything?
No, I kept it, I kind of, kept it at a reasonable pace. My left shin was tight, but I felt it tightening up on the bike. I wouldn't say it was comfortable, but I wasn't in pain
That's good.
or
We have
injury pain, we'll say.
it's interesting because a lot of injured runners come to the tri world, and it's an easy way for them to kind of still get moving and do something different so that they can, still challenge themselves. And so that's good to know that you didn't have really much of a flare up. But hey, if you're injured out there, there's room for you over here in the tri space. Come because you get to do three different sports combined into one. And the other two, swimming and biking, are very low impact. And even if you get to the run, you still have an opportunity where you can walk if that is need be. So we're at the finish line. What does it feel like to come through the finisher chute?
I was so excited to see the Y Tri team standing there. It's really cool when you're older, you're not on a school team anymore, to still become part of the team. And it's just great that those opportunities still exist, because there's something really special about that.
I could agree with you. Like, it feels good to just say, hey, I got a friend cheering for me. Jessica, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I was just gonna say it was like pretty awesome to hear them call out your name. I mean, I've been at many track meets and nobody calls out my name, so it was really awesome to like run through the finish line and then be like, and here we have number 183, Jessica Long. Here for her. And I know when Elyse was running through, they called out her name. We were like cheering for her. So it's just really, really nice to be like recognized, regardless of like what your times were or like whether you didn't finish a part of the race, like you finished today, So that was pretty awesome.
I love it. And when you said them calling your name out, of course, I'm like, yes, calling your name out because you remember that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Ken Berger was probably on the microphone calling you out. And we interviewed him this season as well because he's my mentor. And so I love the fact that that's one of the highlighted parts of the day is hearing your names being called out as you run through the finish line and that camaraderie. Because you're right, you can be a part of other communities, but when you're a part of a team, it's something different to have people there with the same logos on, cheering for you, just rallying around your victory for that day. So kudos to you both. Now that you've done your first, what advice would you give to a beginner?
For me, it would be one thing I was very intimidated by was all the gear you need. Don't be intimidated by it. I did not have a fancy tri bike. I didn't have clip-in shoes. I went very minimalist on the whole thing. And I would love to do another sprint triathlon. And I'm planning to do the same thing. I really liked not having to mess around with a lot of gear. And it's an expensive sport, but that cost can really be moderated.
Facts on facts. Jessica, go.
I mean, my advice of the day is do more open water practice swimming. Like that's really hands down. And I think the thing that I came away with it when I was reflecting is not to be scared to do it with different people who are triathletes. So, like maybe it won't be with your team, but you hear about like open water swimming practice at like X Lake with this other group. Like, don't be afraid. And I think I was still a little bit afraid to like kind of branch out, but now I'm like, listen, I'm going to branch to all the outs and I'm going to be there and I'm crushing this swim the next time it comes around.
I love that. I love that you're just like one open water swimmer and don't be scared. And you're right, because you can make so many new friends just by getting uncomfortable and not being in your comfort zone. And so I absolutely adore what you all both have just said. With that said, what is one thing you would have wished you would have known before your first race today?
That's a tough one. I also felt very prepared by the Y Try program. And there were some things that were a little bit harder than I thought they would be, and some things that were a little bit easier. Um, so yeah, there isn't any particular advice I can give there.
Yeah, I would say I felt really well prepared. I think the one I always come away with something, who knows, but I just wouldn't have worn socks in my clip, whatever. I don't even know what to call them. The shoes that clip in. I know they have a different name, but welcome to try. This is my first, I'm beginning. We know that. I just wouldn't have wore socks because then I could have just put on another pair of socks and have to switch socks. I don't know.
Okay, I shouldn't be laughing so hard, but I am. She's like, look, I don't even know what the shoes are called. Bike shoes, just bike shoes. But then there's different types of clips. You have your SPD, SPD SL, you have the Cleos, you have different types of cleats, but they're just bike shoes. And yeah, biking, without socks is preferred, because it's just easier to not have to worry about that. So that's cool. And at least because my brain sometimes moves so fast, you mentioned something that I want to go back to. Like my brain just caught up like just now about this can be a minimalist sport. Like you're already a minimalist, but from a financial standpoint, you're like, it's costly. However, you can do it on a budget essentially. And so I just want to highlight that again. And I think you hear that through the fabric of this particular episode, because everyone is at a different place financially. And I don't ever want people to feel like they can't try because they don't have it. Do it with what you have. Um, and as you grow, then things could, materialize. I was sitting down with Sarah and talking to her about, I've been bike shopping and really having a hard time finding a bike. And I'm just not finding what I want, or I'm not feeling the bikes that I'm riding. And I'm like, I'm putting myself in bike jail because I have a bike that I have here that I can totally ride. Just need to go get it tuned up. And why spend the money when you can do other things in the process? So I'm taking my own advice and settling with what I have and doing it with what I have. And I'll get a new bike when the timing is right, and it'll be perfect. So thank you for making me check myself on this podcast in front of everybody. Okay, I feel better.
I did see, that's one thing I did like about today, and even yesterday, the Olympic being yesterday, is like the different people were just coming with what they had and like having a good time and racing. And it was just awesome to see that. I mean, I started when I was first training, I was training with like a hybrid. It was more like a mountain bike though, and it was too small. It was problematic. So like I had to upgrade because I was too big for that. Like I sent it to my sister. My sister's 5'4". The frame is a size for probably her. I'm 5'9", almost 5'10". So it was problematic. But I did enjoy seeing like all different types of people, all different types of like bikes, all different types of equipment. And I was gonna say, Elyse, like I was gonna say riding those bikes, the Capital, that really was your training because those bikes are heavy.
Yeah, I love bike commuting now. Yeah, I love bike commuting, bike share. I just joined bike share last September. And I'm like, I've been missing out. I would have gotten around the city so much faster all these years.
It only takes a pandemic to help us realize what's at our resources, right? And so I love the fact that we had to think differently so that we can get new results. And as a result, we have new triathletes. Come on here, capital Y, try new newbies. Ah! Okay, okay. I'm gonna calm down. But I'm so proud of y'all. Like, it is so exciting to be able to welcome you guys into this beautiful sport. Congratulations to you on all of your efforts. You have done it. And now it only goes up from here. You know, whether you do another sprint later this year. Speaking of, what's next for you guys? What's on the agenda now? What are you going to do?
I looked up some I'm thinking the Quantico sprint triathlon might be my next one.
Okay. Is that in the fall?
September, and it's part of the Marine Corps Marathon series of races. So yes, close. And I read the reviews, said Jesse, maybe that might be a good one for you to do. It says the water is shallow. So yeah, so maybe improve the swim for me on that one.
Okay. Jesse, what about you?
I don't know which race yet, but I do want to hear what other people, because I want to, it'd be nice to do one where someone else is going to be there from the Y Tri team. But my primary goal is to do a lot of open water swimming. So I'm probably going to sign up for some open water swimming like lessons because I just need to work on, I've worked on like not having fear in the pool, and now I need to work on not having fear when I'm like actually swimming. Like I can jump off the side of a boat and I'm good. So I'm like, the boat's right there, but I need to like get that together. So that's really my next step, is to really work on that this summer and like prepare myself for something in the fall. I'm not sure what next. Yeah.
It's okay. You don't have to know. But the fact you do know is that you want to do the open water swimming because that's going to help you get better and feel more comfortable. And Elyse, I'm really excited that you're already looking at a fall race. And Jessica, I know you are probably going to do a fall race once you do your open water swimming. So I feel like we have to have you guys back on, even if it's just giving us a 6 or 7 minute update on your next race. But ladies, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy, and welcome to this beautiful elite club of humans on the earth called triathletes. You rock. And hey guys, you know what I say after all the episodes, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win. I'm Mashonda and I'm out. Peace. Well, we're back and we have a new beginner with us. And I am thrilled to have this young lady because I met her at a race in May. I met her as I was announcing at General Smallwood with Kinetic Multisport. And I remember her coming to the announcers table because she had a question. And I'll let her share what the question is. But I was just so excited. And I said, are you a beginner? And she says, yeah, this is my first race. And I said, oh, well, I gave her a rundown, and then I said, I want to talk to you afterwards. So I am so excited to bring to you this guest, Miss Jenny Wu, who is in the construction management field, and she just recently graduated. Not only welcome to Try Beginner's Luck, but welcome to the beautiful sport of triathlon. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about, okay, let's go back. Do you remember the question that you asked?
Yeah, so my parents and I were taking pictures at the swim start, and we crossed the mat, the timing mat, and I heard my tracker beat, and I got super nervous because I was already nervous about the cutoff time. So I was like, oh my God, it's my timer already starting. So I went off to the tent to find somebody to try to help me, and that's how I met you.
Wow. You know, we get so many questions from so many people all the time. And this one was just another one that we get to add to the books. But it's true. Sometimes, you know, your timing chip can go off and it could delay some other things, but we have a really good, a good timing team And so I'm sure they handled everything. And so you were able to start stress-free, which was really good. And I remember seeing you come across the finish line, like speeding. And I just was like, man, she had a really good race. And it was just so beautiful to like welcome you into the finish line and to say that it was your first and to just hype you up a bit. It just warmed my heart. So tell me, I want to just start by how did you get into the sport and what caused you to want to do triathlons?
Yeah, so over at college, I've started doing a marathon. I've done one marathon in college and I've done one half marathon just a year ago. And I just love doing these races. This gives me something consistent to train for. It's like a goal. And every time I enter these races, I'm not necessarily, I'm never going to the first one to be the first place. Never gonna happen. I am not, that's not my goal. My goal is just to finish and to participate and to like be around people who's also training for the same goal. And I think that's super cool. So I was looking for something new to do after my half marathon, and one of my friends is training for Ironman. So another friend and I was like, okay, we should go for a triathlon too. So that's how we signed up for Olympic triathlon.
Okay, so you signed up for an Olympic. Did you know about the sprint option?
I did, but I was like, oh, this is way too easy. So that's why I went for Olympic. But even for the Olympic, I was like, this is way too easy. I should have went for a half Ironman. But I've learned that's not true. And I should have. The Olympic was the perfect place for me to start.
Oh, so you got your you had a good taste of reality
Right,
during your first Olympic.
right. Because I was like, oh, I could do all three of these events just like so relaxingly, like no problem at all. Like I know I can do all three events individually, but during my training, I've never done it all together, or I combined bike and run one time, but that was it.
So let's talk about this experience because the confidence, you were flipping the hair like, I can do this, it's too easy. So let's talk about your first race. Let's break down we're going to break down the swim, we're going to break down the bike, we're going to break down the run. So tell me about the swim.
So I think I should first start off saying that I did not know the cutoff time was 4 hours until like 2 weeks before the triathlon. That was definitely on me. I should have read through the rule book.
Let's pause right there. Let's pause right there. You should have read through the what book?
The rule book, yes.
Mm-hmm. So what she means is she should have ran through the race book that is provided for most races. Race directors will be so appreciative of you reading that book that they spend so much time on. But okay, I digress. Go ahead.
Yes. So, very unfortunate from that. And another unfortunate part about that is because I thought it would be too easy. I didn't really train for the run until 2 weeks before the triathlon, and I haven't ran since the winter. So all of that combined together made me super nervous. And plus I read online like, oh, they're gonna cut off at 4 hours on the dot. You cannot finish the race if you get cut off. So I got super nervous, and I was like the whole time going into it, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not gonna finish on time. Like I timed out everything. I was like, I had to try my hardest on every single activity in order to make the cutoff time. But that's not the race I wanted. I wanted like a relaxing race. Like I just want to finish. I know I can finish. But that's how I went into it. And I went into it super nervous. When I go into these races, I'm never nervous because I know I can finish. But this time I was especially nervous.
Mm.
So
now, I think you underestimated the power of triathlon. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yes.
That's okay.
Okay. I went into the swim and I was like, okay, I know I can do well on the swim. So I swam as hard as I could. And then I also swim breaststroke. So that I don't know how to do freestyle. So I already know it's gonna be slower than most people. And then I see people keep going past me, swimming past me, and which made me even more nervous as time went on. And it was also my first open water swim. So I went in and I I was warned that like the water is not gonna be clear, and that was fine. But I went in, I was like, oh my God, I could not even see what's right in front of me. See the person right next to me, nobody, like when I go underwater, I cannot see anything. But luckily, the water was super calm, and I felt really good about my swimming in the pool. So I know it's not gonna be an issue because everyone's watching me. I have the red cap on. I know everybody's watching me. There's people right next to me. It's gonna be fine. But seeing everyone going past me was definitely not a good feeling. So I swam as fast as I can, and then my left calf started cramping on the last lap, not the lap going out, but the last lap going in toward the swim finish, like halfway to the swim finish on the last lap. And I was like, oh crap. And then I kind of like swam in place for a bit, and I was like, oh, it's fine. And I just continued swimming, but like kicked a little less hard, but definitely was a rough start, to say the least.
Okay.
Rough the swim. Not a rough start, but rough ending to the swim.
Okay, a rough ending to the swim. But you said
Yeah.
you swam the breaststroke the entire race. That adds on to this. So, freestyle is the most common form, and you can do whatever you need to do to get to your finish. But the fact that you swam breaststroke, I am impressed,
Really?
because that's not easy. To swim breaststroke the whole time? No, I don't think that that's easy to swim the breaststroke the whole time from a couple of perspectives. Physical perspective, because you're using more force to, you propel in a different way and to kick out, to do the frog kick. And then the mental aspect, because it is slower, people are passing you. So you had to overcome so many challenges just at the start of the race.
Yeah, but I didn't think I finished I know I was gonna be around 35-minute mark, and I
Mhm.
40 minutes. So I was, it was as expected.
But it's still good. Like 41 minutes is still good. I'm just saying that when you learn, because I just feel in my heart you're going to do more. When you learn how to do freestyle, you're going to see how much more efficient you are and how much more energy you will have when you transition into the bike. Here's the deal: you started, and that was the beauty. You didn't let not knowing how to do freestyle stop you. You did what you knew how to do so that you could try. And for that, I salute you, Jenny. Because most people would have been like, well, I can't swim, and they would have stopped. But you did what you knew how to do, which was in your wheelhouse. And that didn't stop you. And so I want to salute you. So we catch this cramp, and Charlie horses is what I feel like it was, are just not fun to have, especially at the beginning of the race. So how did you work through that as you went to the bike? Because your transition was a run. So how was your leg feeling? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I knew I wouldn't have a lot of transition. I had my tank, my tri tank, and my um spandex shorts. And I wasn't gonna change into shoes or anything, so I changed into bike shoes. So I changed into my sneaker at the swim. I changed into my running shoes at the swim finish, and I ran to the bike transition.
Mhm.
And that was fine. I was feeling okay. I was like, okay, now the hardest part and most risk part is done. So I know I can keep going. And then going into the bike, I felt okay. And then I don't even remember about the bike course, but the first mile was so strenuous. Well, not the first mile. First 5 miles was super strenuous because it was very steep and very hilly. And then onto the not preparing well part. again, my bike, I went on Saturday, and during package pickup, I saw everybody have really nice bikes, like tri bikes with the curved handlebar and everything. And I was out there with my hybrid bike from college. Um, didn't have a front brake, only have a rear brake, rusty ass chains. So it was, and I was like, oh, okay, well, me out here with my old ass bike. So that added on to it. And then, so I was doing I was going to the bike, and then it was super hilly for the first 5 miles. Everyone kept passing me because on the hills, I was like really struggling. I was down to like gear 1. And it's just like really trying to get up that hill, trying to get in my mind, be like, oh my God, I'm gonna finish. But that was when I also doubted myself a little bit. It's like, oh my goodness, I did not realize how hard the swim to bike transition was gonna be, like how tired I was gonna feel, because my thighs was feeling tired, my butt was feeling tired, like everything was already tired, and I'm only on the beginning of the second race, so the second leg, and I was just like, oh God, this is not going well. Um, but it got a little better because like I think toward the middle of the course, it was pretty flat, occasional hill, not too bad, so I felt a little better. But the whole time I think I was biking alone. Maybe I had like one person behind me. So that did not do well for my mental game. But the funny part was towards like 2/3 of the bike course, there was two dogs that just ran straight at me and my bike. And I literally screamed for my mama. Like I do not even know where they came from. And I'm scared of dogs in general, but they kept chasing me and howling, and I was just like, what the fuck? Oh, sorry. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then, but there was a bike coming after me, and then they started chasing the person after me, so it was fine. But yeah, that I think the bike part was the least hard of the three legs for me for this race.
Wow. So not only, okay, just to unpack this a little bit. First of all, doing it on a hybrid is common. You know, you rode with what you had, and that's the best way to try. You know, just get out there and do it. I can understand how it is intimidating when people have really great bikes and they sound so good, and you hear that whoosh, whoosh, whoosh sound, and you'll get there one day. But today was a day that you'll never forget because you created a memory. You created a memory and you did it on a hybrid bike. And that's strong. And yes, General Smallwood is a very technical race. It is very hilly. It is very it's rolling hills, but it's hillier than most of the rolling hill courses. And it's a very technical race. And so you survived it on a hybrid. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
You really should be proud of yourself. And it's not about how many people are passing you. It's the fact that you didn't give up, especially after those dogs. Because listen, that and the fact that you screamed for your mother, that took me out. But that was your natural reaction. And, it happens when you're out there on those lonely, more rural roads. Anything, it can happen. Any animal can dart at you. And you kept going. And I guess I just want to remind you of how you have been overcoming this entire race. So I'm excited to hear about how you overcame with the run.
The run was definitely the hardest part for me because I already expended all my energy for the last two legs. But I remember I started on my run and I was like, I looked at the time and I was like, oh, I have a good amount of time left within the 4 hours. I think I had like an hour and 20 minutes, I believe. So I was like, this is plenty of time for me to do 6 miles. but I forgot, we have 2 laps. So the mile 1 and mile 4 is super, super hilly. So I started running and I felt my legs were feeling really bad. By the time I got to the first aid station at mile 1, both my quads seized up, cramps all over. I could not even walk. I had to sit down on the little cooler, and I at that point, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should walk back or should I continue to walk. I don't know. I don't know. I've never experienced, even during my marathon, I've never experienced both my quad muscles seizing up to the point where I can feel how hard they are and I cannot keep going. I cannot keep walking. But I saw other people walking as well, but there are people, jogging. I saw people walking up the hill, so that made me feel a little better because I'm like, I'm not the only one in the boat. So I kept on walking a little bit after I sat down for a minute because I was like, I know I'm gonna finish this. I have my parents there, I have 2 of my friends there. I'm not gonna shame myself like that by not finishing on the 3rd leg. That's just not gonna happen. I know I have an hour and 20 minutes. Maybe I'll not make the cutoff time, but I know I'm gonna finish. At least I can brag about that. I finished my first triathlon, So I just kept on going. Luckily I got back into the shade because that day was 95 degrees and it was hot as balls and I could not continue. I had to drink so much water. But I kept on walking and then jogging a little bit when it's flat. And when I say jog, I meant shuffle. I shuffle my legs together, make a little bounce in my steps is what I would call it. And then I kept on going and then drank water at Gatorade at every single aid station. And I love the downhill on mile 3 going back down to the run start. And then on my second lap, that was better because I liked how they break it down to lap 1 and lap 2 because they kind of break it down to 3 miles and 3 miles. And you can run 3 miles. What's 3 more, And the second lap was way better because I knew when to walk, when to run. I knew where the uphill, I knew where the downhill was. That felt a lot better on my mental game. And I remember on my first lap, there was someone I recognized that is also on their lap 1. And I was like, okay, are you on your lap 1? And they're like, yeah. And then I was like, okay. And then he was like, yeah, so are you doing lap 2? Because at that point, we were getting close to the cutoff time. And I was like, of course. And then he's like, okay, good. And then we decided we're going to do it together, But we ended up not doing it together. But I knew somebody else was going to be with me. And that felt a lot better. And I finished over time for by 17 minutes. But, I still finished. And I'm super...
Damn, 17 minutes, 17 minutes! Okay, sorry. Having flashbacks. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, for finishing and for run.
Well, listen, Jenny, you are a triathlete. You swam your swam, you biked your bike, you ran your ran, you ran your run, and you crossed the finish line. And no one can take that away from you. And it's only going to get better from here. You never forget your first, right? And so this is something that you'll always be able to look back on and laugh. Yes, I was laughing at your story because it's funny after the fact, right? But in the middle of it, you're like, this is not funny. I don't understand how I did this. You were like, oh, this is going to be easy. It's going to be this. And then you were like, you're in it and you're like, oh, this is hard. But it's not necessarily hard. It's a challenge. And it challenges you to think very differently. And what I love about how you wrapped up that second lap is you started to do some math. And that's what we as triathletes do. We do a lot of math to figure out a lot in a very short amount of time. And so that in itself was saying, you're well on your way, my friend. You're well on your way. You're like, hey, I learned from the first lap. The second lap, I know where I need to do. I know where I need to go. And you did it. You did it.
Yeah.
And what I also love about smaller races is, yes, they give you a parameter and a time frame, but you still got to finish. And that's the beauty of it all, right? The beauty is to have fun, to go out and try new challenges, and to do things that you've never done before, and to make great memories in the meantime. And you did that. And now you can tell the story forever.
I definitely have a newfound respect for triathlons.
Bam.
Right. During my race, I was like, race, I thought I was never going to do a triathlon again. Or I don't know if I wanted to do a triathlon again because of how hard it was and not knowing if I could finish. But right now, I definitely want to do, at least go for a half Ironman after I've rested my body.
Okay. Now, will you try to do that half this year? Or will you try to do another Olympic and then try to do another, do a half?
Well, I'm trying to do a through hike of the Appalachian Trail next year. So I'll probably do a half Ironman, not next year, but the following year.
Okay. Okay. And do you have any more tries lined up for this year?
No, I'm going to go for the Marine Corps Marathon this October.
I love it. So running is your thing.
Huh?
So running is your thing.
Actually, out of all three activities, I think I like to swim the most. But running is definitely the race that's most easy to get into and most casual, I would say.
Runners, you hear that? Easier to get into? I'm just kidding. No shade, but shade. But go ahead. Oh man, this has been so, so good. And I'm just so grateful for the experience that you have. Now that you've done your first, what advice would you give to what advice would you give to someone who's listening, who's contemplating doing their first or has their first race coming up?
Well, if you have your first race coming up, my biggest advice is obviously read the rule book that they put out, know what the cutoff time is, know your course, know what you're going to do for a transition, your clothing, your preparation, and just relax a little bit and enjoy the race. I felt bad about how nervous I was the whole race about the cutoff time. And I wish I just relaxed a little bit and just enjoyed the race itself instead of being so tied up in my head about, okay, I have to make this time for my swim. I have to make this time for my bike. And I felt like that was a lot of pressure on me. And that was also the reason why I didn't want a lot of people to come and support me, because I felt like more people coming would add more pressure onto myself. But I wish I just relaxed a little bit. And no, I trust in myself that I know I'm going to finish, and I say I'm going to finish, I will finish, you know. For people who are contemplating on deciding if they want to do a triathlon or not, I would say if you want to look for a challenge and if you want to look for a new race, just sign up for it, pay the money. If you pay the money, you're going to train and you're going to attend this race. And even if you don't like it, I mean, it's just one time. Hey, and you got a consistent training schedule. At least you got some exercise out of it, you know? It's something that you can train on, you can attend and know a whole new group of people and brag about it at the end.
I love it. And I couldn't think of the name of it. You know, when you're doing this, sometimes you're in the moment and your mind is going so fast, but it's the athlete guide. So the athlete guide is what you should read, that race directors put a lot of time into. So I had to course correct myself. I was like, come on, Mashonda, you know it. But it's the end of quote unquote my day. We're doing this at the end of a work day. And so, you know, by the end of the day, you're like, "Rrr." But no, I am so proud of you, Jenny. That advice was sound. It was solid. Listen to her. She's experienced it and it's fresh. And so that was some good sound advice. Well, listen, Jenny, thank you so much for being with us. This is just the beginning. You just entered the workforce. You just graduated. You're challenging yourself, and you have been bit by the bug of triathlon. And I cannot wait to see what more you do in this beautiful sport. Well, that's it for us. Whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win. I'm Ashonda, and we're out. Peace. So Jenny and I kept talking when we stopped recording, and she has some clean advice that she wants to share. Jenny, go ahead, share what you just shared with me.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for people who is contemplating on starting a triathlon, my advice would be do what you can with what you have. No matter how bad you think your gear is, it doesn't matter. Triathlon is all about moving your body, and that's what I love about it. So as long as you can move your body, it doesn't matter how old your bike is, or if you don't have a tri-suit, you don't need a tri-suit. You can even wear a tank top and swimsuit. Like, it doesn't matter. As long as you can get yourself across the finish line, that's what you gotta do. And as long as you sign up for and pay the money for the race, that's the first step. Everything else, you don't even have to think about it.
You heard it here. We're out. Bye. For real this time. Bye. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win.